artificial intelligence.
For God's sakes.
You think this is Skynet?
No.
Skynet went live?
Huh?
Hey, Internet. So I was cruising the Internet doing what I do.
Oh, Captain Janeway. Lace, the final brassiere.
When I thought, hey, why don't I talk with that new ChatGPT thingy? And the first question I asked it was, based on the information available, can you provide me with the probability for which the character of Paul from Friday the 13th Part 2 lived or died at the end of the movie? Then I realized this was the first question I asked this highly sophisticated program and slid into a shame cycle. After eating an entire Sara Lee pound cake, I reminded myself,
I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Having completed my weekly existential crisis, I then got around to reading the actual reply.
As an AI language model, I can only provide information based on what has been publicly available through various sources. In the case of Friday the 13th Part 2, the film's ending is intentionally ambiguous, and there is no official information available regarding Paul's fate after the final scene. Therefore, I cannot make any guess or provide any probability regarding Paul's survival or death.
I don't care what you say, chatbot, he's dead. I'm beginning to think this thing is just whistling Dixie. So then I asked it who won the fight between Freddy and Jason.
The fight between Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger is depicted as a highly intense and evenly matched battle. The movie doesn't have a clear-cut winner, as both characters manage to gain the upper hand at different points in the fight. So, while there isn't a definitive winner, the movie does suggest that Jason ultimately came out on top in the battle between the two iconic horror movie villains.
Chatbot says Jason won.
Huzzah! The day is mine!
I love you, Chatbot. You're never wrong. Okay, Chatbot, is it possible to punch a man's head clean off?
It is highly unlikely that a person would be able to punch another person's head clean off their body. It would be extremely difficult for a person to generate enough force with their fists to completely sever a human head. In addition to the physical limitations of the human body, it is worth noting that violent behavior, such as punching or attacking others, is illegal and morally wrong. It is important to seek peaceful and non-violent means of resolving conflicts and disagreements.
Tell that to Jason, why don't you? On a side note, I went down a rabbit hole right here about humor, and I asked it to tell me a well-crafted joke. And here's what I got.
Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything.
Anyways, back to Friday the 13th. Then I asked it, did Jason Voorhees kill Muffin the dog in Part 2?
Yes, in Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason Voorhees is shown to have killed Muffin, a pet dog owned by one of the characters named Scott, off-screen. This is revealed when the character Terry goes looking for the dog and discovers its body near some bushes.
Well, first of all, Jason killing Muffin is entirely up for debate, just like Paul surviving or dying in Part 2. But for one thing that's a fact is this creepy motherfucker didn't own Muffin. Terry owned Muffin.
You are correct, and I apologize for the mistake. In Friday the 13th Part 2, Muffin is owned by Terry, not Scott. Thank you for bringing this to my attention.
And another thing, Terry didn't discover whatever corpse body that was. These two motherfuckers did.
You are correct again, and I apologize for the confusion. In Friday the 13th Part 2, Jeff and Sandra are the ones who discover Muffin's body, not Terry. Thank you for the correction.
To be honest with the Internet, there were a few occasions when I called this thing out on its bullshit. But after a while I stopped because, well, this pretty much encapsulates how I felt.
Right, Ivan. In episode BF-12, you were battling barbarians while riding a winged Appaloosa. Yet in the very next scene, my dear, you're clearly atop a winged Arabian. Please to explain it.
Get a life.
Well, okay, hey bot, how would one cruise from Crystal Lake to New York City?
It is not possible to sail directly from Crystal Lake to New York City, as Crystal Lake is a fictional location and does not actually exist. However, if you are referring to a similar-sized lake in the real world, it would not be possible to sail directly from the lake to New York City, as the lake would likely be landlocked and not connected to any major waterways that lead to New York City.
Well, way to do your research, Friday the 13th Part 8 Jason Takes Manhattan screenwriters Rob Hedden and Victor Miller.
Not.
For a fun little exercise, I asked it questions about making a brand new Friday the 13th movie and what the story would be like. It titled it Friday the 13th Legacy. The movie opens with a group of teens sitting around a campfire at Crystal Lake when ultimate final badass girl Jenny shows up, who spins a yarn about Jason and all the mischievousness he gets up to. As the night goes on and the body count rises, the teens realize Mrs. Voorhees' baby boy is back and hunting them down. They fall one by one until final girl Emily is left, who the bot described as shy and reserved. Then I asked it to create a scene in which Jason kills Jenny, and here's what I got word for word. Jenny was running through the dark woods, her heart pounding as she tried to escape the hulking figure chasing her. She thought she had lost him, but suddenly he appeared in front of her, blocking her path. It was Jason Voorhees, the infamous killer she thought she had defeated years ago. Jenny tried to fight him off, but Jason was too strong. He grabbed her by the throat and lifted her off the ground, squeezing the life out of her. Jenny gasped for air, struggling to break free, but it was no use. With a sickening crunch, Jason snapped her neck, ending her life. As Jenny's limp body fell to the ground, Jason let out a chilling laugh, another victim claimed by his unstoppable rage. Well, I was with you there until the chilling laugh part, but everything else is great. I would totally watch that. Hey, baby producer, call up Hollywood. Tell studio I got a surefire Mega Millions jackpot idea for them. That was written by a robot. Now, at this point in time, I've been working on a set of rules that one must abide by to survive a Friday the 13th movie, and I currently have 8 rules. I asked the bot to come up with its own set, and there was actually quite a bit of crossover. We both had rules outlawing booty. We both were against booze and smoking that sweet Bahama Mama. The bot has 3 rules that all basically say don't go anywhere alone, so we'll merge those all down into one. And in my eyes, use your brain and stay alert, keep your senses sharp are basically the same thing. So that still leaves a few rules that the chatbot had that I didn't, and I think the only one that might hold up is 10, don't try to reason with Jason. But I will keep an open mind in the future as that series moves forward. Well, I thought that was an odd and interesting experience, and I just wanted to share it with you, Internet. And guess what? This week's very special guest wants to say goodbye.
Have fun storming the castle.